Dixie here. Today I want to talk to you about longevity as it relates to backpacking. I've been on a health and longevity kick for a while now and been diving down some rabbit holes, but I happened upon earlier this year a book by Dr. Peter Attia, or Attia, not sure how you pronounce it, but it's called Outlive: The Science and Art of Longevity. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend you do so. He talks about a lot of different things that we can do in our lives to make sure that we have a long life and that we actually enjoy living it because we're in good condition. Because backpacking is such a big part of my life, I tried to start thinking of ways that I could apply this information that Peter Attia was talking about to the things that I do in backpacking, of course off trail, but also on trail, because it seems like when I go backpacking, although I'm being active and exercising is a healthy thing, there are a lot of ways that backpacking and even especially through hiking are not so healthy. So you almost get whiplash going from a super healthy life to not living so healthily on trail. So I think that there are decisions that us backpackers and through hikers can make to assure that we have a lot of years to come to go out and enjoy the trails. First, I want to talk about eating better. For years, I ate like crap on trail because everyone will tell you it doesn't matter what you eat while backpacking because you're going to burn it off anyway, and I probably have said that myself in a past video. And in a way, that is true as far as calories go. Yes, you're going to burn a lot of calories while you're walking miles and miles every day, day in and day out, especially on a thru hike. However, if there are poison in those calories, you're still getting that poison even though you're burning off the calories. So one of the first things that I have focused on for myself is making sure that I'm not only eating healthier off trail, but especially on trail too. Obviously, I can't in this video fine tune a diet for every person watching, but I encourage you to find out what that eating better looks like for you. Test it off trail. Figure out the things that work best for your body. Do a daily eating journal, whatever you have to do to figure out what foods to avoid to make you feel your best and for you to actually be as healthy as you can be. I think in general right now, the people in the longevity world, if they had to apply something generic, would say something like a Mediterranean style diet is good for you in general. I ended up landing on like a paleo primal type thing that tends to work best for me, but again, that will be different for everybody. But what I can tell you is I see a lot less inflammation in my face and in my body nowadays than I did just a few years back. I do think that one thing that is safe to say should be avoided in every single person is sugar. And that tends to be a staple in the backpacker's diet because we get out there and again think, well, we can have all the Snickers and the candy and the junk that we want because we'll be burning it off. But sugar is not good for our bodies. Eating a lot of sugar is known to cause insulin resistance, which is a precursor for type 2 diabetes. It can also lead to obesity and too much fat, especially around the abdomen, and also visceral fat, so fat around the organs. Not to mention cardiovascular disease, and then consuming a lot of sugar is known to cause plaques in the brain to build up, which increases the risk of Alzheimer's. Also, studies have shown that sugar ages us more quickly. You have your actual age, so biological age, how many years you have aged since you exited the womb, versus your metabolic age, and that's how well your body processes energy. So there are actually different tools that you can use to estimate your metabolic age versus your biological age. And if you're somebody who consumes a lot of sugar, it wouldn't be surprising if your metabolic age is actually older than your biological age. Finally, sugar isn't good for the brain in general. When we eat sugar, our brain has this release of dopamine that is actually similar to when somebody does something like cocaine. So it's not surprising that there is a concern for addiction, and there might be a reason why people have such a hard time coming off of sugar. If you're somebody who eats a lot of sugar, you're gonna find it probably pretty difficult to do that, and there is a reason that you will have withdrawal-like symptoms. So I invite you, if you do nothing else, to try to reduce the amount of sugar that you have in your diet, especially when you're out there backpacking. that seems to be people's go-tos, but there are snacks in existence that are low in sugar that you can still enjoy while you're backpacking. Now, they might not taste as good as a Snickers bar, I get it, and yes, they might possibly be more expensive than cheap candy would be, but have you priced things like diabetes and cancer lately? Next is quality sleep. This is something that I should start working on trail. I have for a while sacrificed some comforts in my gear and made things as lightweight as possible so I could carry more camera equipment, but at this point I can't really cut any more stuff, so I probably need to go through and figure out what I could do better on as far as lightweight camera equipment, because quality sleep is so important. When we get that sleep, we feel better, puts us in a better mood, it's better for our cardiovascular system, our immune system, etc. And who likes dragging throughout the day anyway, especially when you're doing something like exerting yourself and backpacking? It's been pretty normal for me for a while to not feel very rested on trail, but I also noticed that I started feeling not rested at home too, and that's when I decided to go in for a sleep study. I found out that I have mild sleep apnea, so it makes sense. Not getting enough oxygen at night could certainly make you not feel well and rested the next day. But for you, getting better sleep at night on trail might mean getting an upgrade on your sleeping pad, going from a closed cell foam pad to an inflatable sleeping pad, or for me, getting a longer sleeping pad instead of just sleeping with my pack under my legs. Whatever adjustments you need to make, adding on a camping pillow, so that you are getting quality sleep at night, that's important. Something I personally need to work on for getting better sleep on trail is getting up and out of the tent at an actual decent time where I get the sunlight in my eyes to start off the day, and then not hike and actually stop when the sun is going down, or preferably even before, and do all of my stuff so that when the sun does go down, my natural melatonin can kick in and I can get a good night of sleep. Working out in between hikes. This is something that I have done a pretty good job of in the last year. Unfortunately, because of things out of my control, I haven't been able to hike a lot this year, but I have been doing my part to stay in shape for when I do get to go out backpacking again. I've been lifting weights pretty regularly for the last year or so. I started really training when I knew I was going to go to Mount Kilimanjaro, so yeah, about a year now. Without regular strength training, you can start losing 3 to 8% of your muscle each decade as you age. And I don't know about you, but that sounds terrible to me, and I don't want to have that happen. So I knew unless I started lifting heavy things that that's going to be a reality for me. Of course, it's good to lift weights, but in doing that, I've tried to remind myself not to forget about stability, flexibility, mobility, and balance. The reason is, even if you're super strong in the gym and you can throw around heavy weights, if you haven't worked on those other parts of taking care of your body, when you get out on the trail on uneven surfaces, your joints aren't going to be used to that and you can set yourself up for injury. Peter Attia talks about falls in older folks and how they happen often because they don't work on that stability and balance. And you'll have somebody who kind of like stumbles off of a curb the wrong way and they don't catch themselves well when they step down, they fall and then have some serious injury, and then their health goes downhill from there. Also, grip strength is apparently a big marker for longevity, and I assume that part of that is, again, in that situation of falling, being able to catch yourself. So in normal life, you can do things like farmer's carries or dead hangs from a bar. But on trail, if you don't have the perfect limb or a shelter where you can do pull-ups or dead hangs, what can you do to increase grip strength out on trail? Well, tote a tennis ball. That's something that's not super heavy. You can use it to roll out your feet or other sore muscles anyway, and then work on your grip strength as you're walking down the trail. I think this would be especially good for people who don't use trekking poles, because I know they kind of don't really have much to do with their hands, and their hands just hang down by their side all day and can actually cause swelling because they're just hanging there for hours and hours and hours as they're walking down the trail. So working on all of this stuff and staying limber is important, but it doesn't have to be crazy time consuming to work on these things like stability and balance. There are YouTube channels out there like the pros who can show you how to do all of these things properly. So I will link to some different videos in the video description. That way this video is not like 100 minutes long. But something like stepping down from the stairs in your house or on your porch or, you know, anywhere that you are that has stairs, taking a very slow and intentional step down and up from that step will help with balance and stability. Finally, let's address cardio. I used to hate cardio because I would think that you almost have to about kill yourself to actually get a good workout for your cardiovascular system, but that's actually not true. And again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but there is this buzz right now around zone 2 cardio, and that is basically where you are labored enough in your breathing that you can say a complete sentence without stopping to gasp for air, but also you don't necessarily want to carry on a long conversation. And if you're a numbers person, then zone 2 is around 70% or so of your max heart rate. You could do this with brisk walking or on a treadmill. I've found that I like to do it on a stationary bike just because, I don't know, it's not so hard on my joints, it doesn't feel like, and it's easy for me to just sit there and kind of keep it in check. I can see my speed on the back, I can see my heart rate on my Apple Watch, and that's just what I've found I like to do. So you might be asking, how exactly do I know my max heart rate? Well, there are different ways. For people who wear something like a Fitbit and an Apple Watch and you do go out and exercise, then if you look at your heart rate data, you should be able to see what your max heart rate has been, and mine is 182. If you want just an estimation, there is a rule of thumb where you can take the number 220 and then subtract your age, and if I were to do that, I would come up with a max heart rate of 183. Mine on my Apple Watch showed as 182, so that shows that that's pretty close. So anyway, I thought it was cool because it said that zone 2 and doing those exercises makes your cells produce higher quality mitochondria, and then those mitochondria burn fat and glucose better. But all of this stuff to say, the better shape that you're in and the more you focus on fitness, then you're gonna feel better out on the trail and be able to hike longer for years to come. Next, I want to talk about stress management. It's been shown that spending time out in nature, in green spaces, can help with stress, anxiety, depression. So I think as backpackers, we probably do a pretty good job of getting out in nature and handling some of the stress management that's needed in our lives. Now, unfortunately, not all of us get to go hit a green space daily, weekly, or even monthly. So in general, I think everybody could probably do a better job managing the stresses that they have in their lives. So if you can get out on a daily walk in a green space, it doesn't have to be out on, you know, a really awesome hiking trail, but just anywhere that's got a green space that you can spend some time in nature. But if all you have that's convenient is your neighborhood, still going for a daily walk and not checking Facebook while you're doing it is going to be better for your brain than no walk at all. The walking process to me is sometimes like meditation itself, just having the ability to have thoughts come through my mind and just kind of work through things is helpful. But with that said, thru hiking is probably one of the most stressful things I've ever done. So if you're planning on thru hiking in the future, I'd recommend finding ways to reduce stress during your thru hike, like starting early. Give yourself time for mishaps to occur, because they will. On all 3 of my Triple Crown hikes, I was racing snow and winter at the end, and I would not recommend that. Also, save up as much money as you can so you don't have to deal with a lot of financial stress. Also, if you're going to be putting out videos or blogs, give yourself a buffer. Make sure you have a few videos in the queue before you start, maybe gear videos or first thoughts, etc. That way you don't feel so pressured to produce content right away. Finally, I've said this in multiple videos, but if it's possible at all, don't book your travel trip home from the end of the trail so that you have some flexibility for when you finish the trail. You're not pushing for a certain end date. And then also you can decide later how you want to get back home, whether you want to take a train or hitchhike all the way, or maybe go on a road trip with new trail friends before you head back to normal life. So just allowing yourself to figure that out when you get to the end will probably actually be less stressful than if you plan ahead and then have to stick to that plan. Unplug. Taking time away from our cellular devices is always a good thing. Maybe at some point in the evening, setting a time and saying, okay, once it hits 8 o'clock, my bedtime's 9 o'clock, for the last hour, I'm not touching my phone, because I'm not gonna stress about emails coming in and things that I have to worry about for work tomorrow. This is my time to decompress. One of the things that I like to do with my family, when we sit down to eat, we have a rule: no phones at the table. And we've adopted the peak and pit thing that we did on Mount Kilimanjaro. So we talk about the high point of our day and the low point of our day. And this really gives us time to connect, to decompress, and to have quality conversation while we're eating dinner. And I do want to mention proper meditation here, just because I feel like it's finally well accepted that meditation does help with stress, anxiety, depression. I have recently started a new app called 10% Happier, and it's just an app that walks you through meditation. I got a code to share with a friend for 30 free days, and I don't think they even require you to have a credit card or anything. I'm not affiliated with this company. They don't know who I am. They don't know about my channel, or if they do, I don't know about that. I don't get any benefit from this, but just I have this thing that was auto-generated to me when I signed up. I assume everybody gets that. So I'll put it in the video description if you want to try 30 free days of meditation. Next is lighten your load. Now, I know in some of these other points, I've talked about adding certain things to your pack, like if you need to sleep better, maybe you should add a more comfortable sleeping pad that might weigh a little bit more. But there's a perfect balance out there between having the things that we need to be comfortable during the day and at night while we sleep, but not having so much that we're uncomfortable while we're walking during the day because our packs are so heavy. And obviously lightening your load as much as you can while still maintaining that comfort on trail is going to be good for your body in the long run, especially your joints. Finally, I want to talk about sunscreen and skin protection. I feel like this is something that all of us hikers and backpackers can always do better on. Wearing long sleeve clothing, long pants, hats, anything that will shield your skin from the sun is just a good idea. And then using sunscreen as a second line of defense for any of those areas that are going to be exposed anyway. In the past several years, I have really focused on protecting my skin, and I just wish I had done it sooner. I've had some scares with skin cancer. I had a precancerous spot here on my face, and then later I had the skin cancer on my eyebrow that I had to get cut out. That was earlier this year. I'm sure that's not the last of the issues that I will see with that. So I'm actually doing a 6-month check with my dermatologist instead of a yearly check. They still recommend a yearly, but I'm gonna come in every 6 months. So go get your skin checked regularly. Even if you're 65 and you've never protected your skin before, start now. And I know I've kind of beat a dead horse with this recently in several videos, but nobody is immune to this. We lost Bob Marley and Jimmy Buffett to skin cancer, and I'm sure that there are other celebrities and well-known people that I'm not currently thinking of. I prefer to use mineral or physical sunscreen to chemical sunscreen, just because in the past there have been known carcinogens in the chemical sunscreen, so it seems a little counterproductive to have something that causes cancer in something that's supposed to prevent cancer. So I just like to go with the physical blocking mineral sunscreen. I have a whole video where I dig deeper into protection of the skin from the sun, so I will also link to that in the video description if you want to learn more. Well, all right, y'all, that is all I have for you today. I'm done preaching at you. I really don't mean for it to be a lecture type thing. I just care about y'all. I care about the backpacking community and the things that I have done to try to better myself and better my life, to be healthier. I just want to share that with y'all because I hope that you will do the same. So Anyway, if you found this video useful at all, don't forget to share with a friend. If you have any more tips for longevity, especially as they apply to the world of backpacking, please feel free to share that in the comments below. And thank y'all so much for watching, and we will see y'all next time.